Okay, cool. All right. I hope everyone could do this hands-on, whatever we have seen yesterday, how we were, just creating a file and things like that. All right. So usually, we'll talk a little more today about the naming convention. How do we use multiple providers? And let's say we are trying to have use multiple provider, or how it is going to download. How are we going to manage it? What is variables and few more stuff we will try to see. Right? Okay. Now, yesterday what I have done is I have created a Terraform file. This is my Terraform file. Using this, I have written my code. So I created two resources. One is my file, the other one is my file two. What eventually it is going to do is it is just going to create a text file with some content. So this is basically a local module. So usually the name, if you see, right, the module, the resource name, usually it is a module, the AWS provider underscore which resource you're going to create. So local provider and file resource is what you're going to create. And this is the resource name, whatever that we're trying to create. So whenever you do Terraform apply, it will try to create actual resource, right? I'll close this. It will try to create the actual resource. And if you see here, Terraform, this is what the provider settings I have made it. But usually what sort of naming convention we follow? We don't follow like, our custom names. We usually follow a proper way that, it will be understandable by everyone. So what we will do, we will try to separate this. So all the provider configuration, we will keep it in provider.tf. So what I'll do, I'll just separate it. I'll create a new file called as provider.tf, right? Provider.tf. So in provider.tf, I'll keep the provider configuration. Just keep this, cut and paste. And I have one resource. So these two are the resource. Usually these are the main resource. If these are the main resource, then I'll keep it in main.tf, or if it is specific to some project, I'll keep it as a project name also, but .tf is an extension, right? Now, in when I try to do Terraform plan, you see here already the Terraform plan, already we have that, just mentioned in the uh, Terraform state already, but if you see here, it is a duplicate. Required providers were previously configured. If you see, okay, what? Okay, duplicate required provider settings. It's not saved. It's not duplicate. It's not saved actually. You have to save the file. I have saved it. See, you see, no changes now. Now, when you do apply already, right? We've already applied it. I can also delete the resource. How can I do it? Terraform destroy. I will say yes. It will destroy the resource. See, all the files, whatever we created, has gone. Now, when I do Terraform plan again, it will try to create these two files. These two files are getting created. So I want to print the output so that later I want to use this Terraform file name somewhere else for the references. So those kind of output to user, I want to print it. So what I can do, Terraform apply when I do it, right? See, it will try to plan and I will say yes, it will apply. It applied and it just told that it is created. But it did not tell me the file name. It did not output the file name here. If you see here, right, it is just telling my file and my file two creating and creation completed. There is a ID, the Terraform reference ID has been generated. I need to print here what is the file name it is created. How can I print it? How can I print the user that, these are the file name has been created? Why we need to print? In future, I want to refer that file name for some other resources. I want to refer using Terraform. We will see what is the use case of printing this output. But, this is one example I'm trying to tell. So how can I print the output? So whatever we use is so for the resource block, right? So we also have the block called as output block. What is output block? Output block is going to help you. Sorry, guys.
Uh, Satish, if you're not feeling well, we can continue the class tomorrow. I think you're not.
No, no, no
Feeling good.
problem. I'm fine. I'm fine. See, so, it's a climate
Uh,
cold basically. In
Oh,
Chennai, it is too cold, so no problem.
okay.
I'm fine. Thanks for asking. But yeah, we can continue. So what I will do, I will write a block called as output.tf. So what is output.tf? Output.tf basically contains the output block. What is output block? So once the Terraform plan and apply completed, it will print the output. That output we will be using it in our future references. Where we will use, I will tell you some purposes in future. But for now, you think that we are going to print the output here. So what we need to print? I mean, what value we can print it? So we want to print the file name of the resource what we created. Local file dot myfile2 dot file name we want to print it. So how can I do? I can print it in the output. So what is the block output phase? I want to print the output of the file name 1, right? I want to print the file name 1. So I want to print the value. What value I want to print? You can go here. This is the one, right? Local file dot myfile1. So this is the one, first one, right? Local file dot myfile dot file name. So what I will output? Local file dot myfile dot file name. I want to print the same way I want to do for file name to local file dot or my file dot file name, my file 2 dot file name. So these two will be printed here. Now I will do Terraform destroy, but this time it won't work basically because this will just what is a managed resource has not been declared in the root module because I need to from plan and apply. First I should, because I made the changes, not been declared in the root module because it is saying that, okay, there is no reference. We need to refer the documentation. Just a minute, guys. I forgot the documentation for local file. Maybe I'll say local provider. Terraform, local provider. So what we can output also should be given as a feature. If we are not given as a feature, we cannot print it. I can come here. So read only what we can read. We can read the content or we can read the ID. See, these values we can output. We can read the content or we can read the ID only. So I can just say ID. It will tell you the ID, but not the file name. File name cannot be a read only one. Maybe I'll just show you the ID. So this feature is not given here, guys. Like the file name, I cannot read it using output. I can just say ID. That's why it is saying this is not been declared. Sorry, not that one. My underscore file. It's my mistake. My underscore file, right? Let me do the Terraform plan. Now this is working. Yeah, fine. This is working. You can see here. So what is happening is maybe I'll do Terraform destroy. Then I will show you again. Okay, I'll clear it. Now I'll do Terraform plan. It will tell me that two file will be created and it will change the output. So I'll do Terraform apply. When I do Terraform apply, after it applied, the file name, the outputs will be printed here. These are the file names which are created. File name 1 equals to this. File name 1 as in the output name what I've printed. File name 1 and file name 2. These two things are getting printed here. So why I'm saying is this output when you print, this will be tracked in your state file. If you come to the state file, you see here outputs. These outputs are being tracked here. If you do not track the output, what will happen? If you don't print this output, later, tomorrow, I want to read some values for creating some other infrastructure from this repository. Let's say today I provisioned RDS servers or EC2 instances. I want to read out the IP address of the instances to give as an input for some other infrastructure. Now, how can I read the IP address? If I have printed the output, then I will be able to read it. When it comes to the use case, I'll just tell you guys. For now, you can keep it in mind that we can print the output in the state file. So this will be used for future values. Let's say in future I want to use the file name for some other purpose. I can use it. I cannot directly use from this repository. If I have printed the output without even modifying the infrastructure, I can use this variable. That's what I meant. Okay. So this is one of the blocks. So what block we have seen so far? We have seen about the resource block. We have seen about the output block. All right. Guys, are you able to understand? If you guys are confused, let me know immediately. I'll help you out.
Sorry, can you go back to the main.tf5? There's something I want to try.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so can we also print out that content instead of the file name? Can we
You can,
look?
you can, you can, you can. So let's say you want to print the content. Again, you can print the output file one content. I'll say content. So when you do Terraform plan, right, we'll be able to see changes will be like, content also will be printed. So when I do Terraform apply, print the content as well. See file one content, it prints the content. You can output any parameter which is coming in. If there is a restriction, the restrictions will be given in the documentation. There is no restrictions given here. All right. Fine, everyone. I don't know, my window is performing little sorry, strange today. I'm not able to switch the windows easily. Yeah, any questions? Sai, Swapna, Balu, I see people have joined, but not asking question. You post your question if you guys are, or stop me right away if you guys are not able to
This is the first class I
understand.
joined, and I mean, including me, like a lot of people, I say I don't have much knowledge about all these AWS and services and stuff.
Okay,
So I'm
okay,
trying to.
cool.
I
So
don't have
whoever
no clue
joined
what you're
today, right?
actually talking about.
Oh, okay. So if the people who have joined today, there is a session. So first session, there are two sessions. First session I've explained about the syllabus and what are we going to cover in this course. In the second session, I've spoken about the setup and things like needed for Terraform, and also I've taken a basic things like what is resource, what is providers, and basic explanation. So those two classes, if you go through in the weekend, on Monday, I think probably everyone will be in a same place. Do the hands-on. I suggest everybody please do the hands-on. I'm not going to take much today because I see many people have joined today. People have to go through the sessions, the previous sessions. Without that, if you have not gone through that completely, then coming here, you will have a very less understanding. But that's okay, I would say, because when you go back and look at the videos, you will be able to definitely understand, I'm sure. But though you are just understanding, I suggest everyone to do the hands-on rather than just following up the video. Set up in your machine, do follow up the task, whatever I have just done in the class. All right.
Yeah, but I don't think like we didn't got the recording for yesterday class in the group. Can you please share that one?
Okay, I will request the people to share the recording. I'll ask Visualpath to share the recording.
All right. Thank you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So people who are not familiar, right? So what I was trying to say is I was trying to create some infrastructure using this code. So in this, I have not created much infrastructure. All I'm doing is I'm just trying to create a file using Terraform. So to create a file using Terraform, we have a local provider. In local provider, we have file modules. So a file resource, we are creating this resource. I'm just mentioning the file name and content. So this end up with creating the file. The workflow, I try to explain it yesterday. So this is the Terraform workflow we usually follow. So basically we do Terraform init. So what init will do, init will perform downloading the relevant, providers. So here we are using local provider. I told you the provider, we will keep it in provider.tf. So we use a local provider, this particular version. this particular version will be downloaded into .terraform folder. You see here, Terraform provider local v240. That's what I mentioned it here, right? And whatever the operations, I mean resources I'm trying to create, whenever I do Terraform plan will give me a rough plan that what it is going to perform, and Terraform apply will actually create the resources. So what I'm creating, there are two files. So those two files have been created here. That's it, right? Now, next thing, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use the multiple providers. There is one more provider I'm going to use it. I'm not going to AWS for now because I want you guys to familiar with the local and the basic concepts in the very first few classes. Then we will go to AWS with some, coding changes. Now, how can we use multiple providers? Can we use multiple providers? Yes, we should be able to use multiple providers. How can we use it? So I want to use another provider called as Random Pet. There is a provider called as Random Pet, guys. These are all, you can ask me, hey Satish, how do you know? And these things, these are all very basic thing, and it is basically like, not going to be used much, but just for the class purpose, right? Like, we can use it. Or even during the work, also we use it for some purpose to generate some random numbers. Okay, so there is a module called as Random Pet module. Sorry, Random Pet uh, Terraform. I'll just do Random Pet Terraform. You go to Random Pet resource. This is a random provider. The provider name is random. That's actually a HashiCorp's provider basically. In random, you can generate random ID, random integer, random password. You can create any kind of random values basically. So this particular module just to generate a random value. Now what I'll do, I'll go with a random pet provider. So what it is going to do is it is just going to generate the pet names. That's it, right? So let's say you're trying to name some resource. You want to generate some random pet resources. So I can use this random pet module. So this generally generates random pet names. You can use it for the unique identifier. That's it, right? So how can I use this, right? So example usage usually given, you can just use this random pet provider with some keepers. You don't have to use these keepers and all for now, but I'll tell you how to use it. So you can see the optional parameters. You can use the length, how much length that you want, how many length, as in like, how many words basically that you wanted, right? And prefix, you can add a prefix and you can add a separators as well. So what is that? I'll just show you. But before going there, how can I add the providers? So you can just go here and you can click here. I told you yesterday, you can just see the syntax, but this syntax, we already have it. So what we want is we just need to mention here the another provider name. Random equals to source. What is the source? It is again HashiCorp hash random, right? And version equals to, what is the version we have it? 3.6.0 is the latest one, right? 3.6.0. That's it. So when you mention this, there are multiple providers you have it now. So what will happen when you do Terraform minute? It will try to download both. Already it has downloaded one. Now it will download only one more provider called as random provider, right? In your local machine. And for this, I'm going to create a resource. How can I create a resource for random pet? Resource. I'll say random underscore, right? So I will say my name. How can I generate the pet name? I'll say the length of this pet name. I'll say one. One word is good enough. I'll change it maybe in future, right? I will change it and show you how it works. Length, and I will say prefix equals to Mr. is a prefix. Mr. is a prefix, not dot. Mr. is a prefix, and I will say prefix should be separated with the pet name generated, right? So I will say the separator. Separator equals to dot, right? Now, now what will happen? Terraform. When I do Terraform plan, it will tell you some error. Why it is telling you some error? Can you guys read the error and tell me what is the error and what I should do now? When I do Terraform plan, I'm getting some error. Why am I getting the error and what I should do? Any idea?
Need to
Good.
initialize first.
Exactly. So as I told you, this is a sequence, right? Where is that? This is a sequence. So what is a sequence? First, we should initialize. But you can ask me, hey Satish, you told only once we need to do. Yesterday I told you once we need to do, unless you are not changing anything in the provider configuration. If you have touched your provider configuration and changed something, you again have to do Terraform init. Now, once you have done init, you can see Terraform successfully initiated. Again, if you do Terraform init, right, it will do the same thing, but it will not take time. But previously it took some time, right? Why? Because it was trying to install this random pet provider. But this time when I again do it, it is just using the existing one. Why? Because if you just go and look at here, right, there are two providers. One is local, the other one is random. So local and random, both have been downloaded for you. So two providers, we had it and it is downloaded. Now when I do Terraform plan, it will work. Keep it in mind, guys, whenever you touch the provider configuration, Terraform level settings, you have to do Terraform init. If you don't do it, you will get an error. Why the error? Basically, why the error is coming, usually when you run the Terraform plan, it will try to match the provider configuration and your log file. I told you yesterday, what is log file? Log file contains which provider has been downloaded and what is the version. And that and this is getting compared. This has two provider, whereas previously the log file had only one provider with only one version, right? Now there is a mismatch. That's why the error was like this. Inconsistent dependency log file. Why inconsistent? Because there is only one provider, you have it in your log file, but you have two providers in your provider configuration. So what is suggested? To update the log to dependency selection, you can do Terraform init. So you can do Terraform init -upgrade, or you can just simply do Terraform init also. Anything is fine. So try to understand the error whenever you get the inconsistency dependency log file, which means the log file is not proper. Means there is a difference between your provider configuration and what is already configured in your log file. So do Terraform init, both will be synced. Now both will be synced. I'll click here and show you. See here, this is having local, this is one provider, and you see one more provider for random. Previously, it was not having both, it was having only one, right? So try to understand the errors because in future, you need to understand the error and you need to rectify what is the error, right? Basically, you should not stuck somewhere that, you don't know what is it. Any kind of error, you should be able to rectify. So we'll see that, like, eventually what are the various sort of errors we used to get it. Now, if you see here, it was trying to create some random pet. One pet resource will be created. It will just create this random pet name, but it will not store it anywhere because we did not tell to store it anywhere, right? If you wanted to store it somewhere, or at least in the state file, what you need to do, you need to go to print in your output, basically, right? Now, I'm not going to do that. What I will do is I'll just show you Terraform apply. Terraform apply, when I do it, you see here, I will say yes, and it is creating a random pet name. What is the pet name? Mr. Swine. This is the random pet name. Now I want to store it somewhere. Where can I store it? What I will do, at least I need to print it in output, right? What I can do, I can go to output. I'll say output pet name value equals to random underscore pet dot. What is the name I have given? My pet name, right? My pet name dot ID. Now, when I do Terraform plan, so the pet name will be saved into this output. Terraform apply. You see here, this stored here, right? So the pet name will be outputted here. So I told you what is separator. This is a separator between the prefix and the name getting generated. Wine is a name got generated. Mr. is a prefix I added, and separator is a dot. When I want to change it, let's say I want to put it in hyphen. So what will happen? It will say Terraform plan. What it will say? You guys know that, right? It will have to delete the previous one and it will recreate the pet name again. Now I'll do Terraform apply. When I do Terraform apply, it will create a new name. So now this time leopard is the pet name, right? So Mr. Leopard, that's a separator I used it now, right? These are all just a local model for initial learning purpose. You can do what Terraform is actually doing. These are all to learn the Terraform functionalities, guys. You can ask me, hey Satish, these are all very basic thing, and why are you telling this? These are all important to know that how to leverage Terraform feature. See, now when you create a resource and the module, I mean the provider resource, what we have to use, and this is our customized name. These parameters we have to refer our Terraform documentation. This is something that we can see here in the optional one, or what is mandatory we can see here, right? Now I know how to use it, and then I know how to output. Now I know how to output as well. So how to output the resource name, I mean the provider dot the name dot the ID. That's how I can output it. With this, I'm sorry. With this, we will be able to proceed for our AWS resource. We will see how we will use our AWS resource. Okay. Any questions, folks?
What's the difference between provider and resource?
Okay. Cool. Very nice question. Resource is actually what we are trying to create. It is any resource, a server, storage, a file, or whatever it is that is called as resource. Those are being managed by a provider library. So provider is a library which contains all the definition to create the resource. Okay, so this local is a provider. Local has a definition of creating this file. So what are we using? Local. In this local provider, we are trying to create a file. How will it create the file? This file creation has been written inside this local, right? So actually the resource is file. So file is what we are trying to create. For that resource, we are giving the input as file name and content. How will it create? That functionality is being bundled inside a local provider. Very clear?
Okay, so yeah, so kind of. So the provider is actually defines what the resources that we can use from there.
Exactly. So you can
And
do
how we can
this
see
is
the different providers. Providers is nothing but you're saying like web services or maybe the web application that we're going to download into the Terraform.
so any provider. Exactly. For example, the provider is AWS. So AWS provider provides hell lot of services, EC2, S3, any kind of service, right? So provider is something that
Sorry.
yeah. So AWS is the cloud we are focusing. See, if you see Google or Azure, Azure is one of the provider, right? So
Right.
inside that provider, you have the servers to create, you have the storage to create. So inside that provider, you will have a lot of definitions inside this. So provider is bundled with all the features. All the definition of the resource, what we are trying to create, is actually bundled inside the provider.
Okay.
Okay.
So and every provider is gonna have different resources, and how we gonna know
Different resource.
how we gonna know like this provider is supporting all these resources and
So
how we
you
can
have to
set it
go
up?
through the documentation. Basically, we have to go through the documentation. Hell lot of providers are available, but when you eventually start working, right, you will understand what providers we need to use it. Say, for example, the AWS is a provider we are going to use it. Inside that, you see how many resources are there. You see hell lot of resources we can create under EC2. For example, I am going to use the EC2 provider. So in under EC2, right, Elastic Compute Cloud, you have lot of resources. You can create IP address, you can create a host, you can create a key pair, you can create an instance, many things you can use. So these are all individual resources. Thousands of resources you can create. Those have been bundled inside this provider.
Okay. So when we using those providers, we don't need to do it separately. So we don't need to
Means
remember all those names.
you don't have to remember all the name, because anyway you are going to refer the documentation, because documentation is the key for you. It's like because you have thousands of module resources to refer. For each resources you have thousands of parameters. For example, AWS instance inside this, how many parameters are there? You see here argument reference, you see how many parameters are there inside this. So these many things, you cannot keep it in mind. You don't have to keep it in mind, I would say. Why? Because you just need uh, the way how we can write our code. You have to come here and refer the examples, and you can see what are the mandatory parameters. So these are the optional parameters. If you want to customize these parameters, you can customize. But there are some required parameters. You will be able to see that. So the required parameter, you have to pass it. So that's what we are going to do in this, the entire course. We will see how are we going to create a resources in a generic way, right? Yeah, folks, any questions? Yeah. Uh, I hope there's no questions, but many of you might be having some doubts until you do the hands-on. You won't be able to, understand the complete concepts. Now, guys, can I go ahead with the next concept, or do you guys need me to walk through what we have seen and wait for some time? What is your suggestion, guys? You guys let me know how you want to take it forward, because it is with you that how you want to take it. If you guys are not getting the concepts, then there's no meaning of going further. I can help you to revise and help you to make you understand. What do you guys suggest, folks?
I think revision
Hey, Purna,
is some. Yeah, I think I need some.
you need some revision. Okay, yeah, I will walk through what we have seen so far, and then we will see like what level we have came so far.
Sure,
All right.
sure.
Yeah. Any other suggestion, folks? Anyone else want to talk? Talk or some suggestions? Feel free to do it. I'm fine. Yeah, Balu. Yeah,
Um,
say.
it's okay. I'm pretty much new to this AWS concepts. Uh, I was working as a manual tester, so I don't have very much in
Okay.
detail about this cloud computing and all that
Automation.
stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Yes. So it would be
Okay.
better if you can give us just why that's why I was asking earlier. Like I don't know what's provider and what is the resource, and you've just been using it that name very much
Yeah.
throughout the class. So, but at
Sure.
least if I get an idea what it is, and then when we and how we gonna use this, and what's the useful in a live example, maybe that will help people to understand, at least for me. Uh,
Sure. Yeah.
Before we actually
Maybe
go
yeah.
in Terraform and doing it. So if you just say like, oh, Terraform plan and Terraform apply, so I don't know what is actually happening behind the stories.
Yeah. So I think for that is what, for those things you need to go through the previous recording, because you're in the you're in the two session behind, right? So you have to walk through the previous sessions in order to understand that. But anyway, I hope everyone will complete all the recordings and do all the hands-on so far. That will give you a complete idea basically, because in two sessions we have seen about the very fundamental about what is Terraform and what is the workflow, why we have to get start from here, right? So that is something you have to follow up in the videos. I would request everyone, not just you, whoever just joined newly, please walk through that. But I'll again walk through what we have came so far. I'll just go from beginning and give you a
That
cover on what we have seen.
that would be helpful. Thanks.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Anyone else want to talk, folks? I hope no. Okay, let me go ahead. So in this session, we have planned for cloud automation to start with Terraform. So Terraform is infrastructure as a code resource, code tool, basically. I have given an example of what are we going to do with this Terraform. So basically, in cloud computing, now we are using cloud computing. In cloud computing, we are going to create multiple resources on cloud in AWS or Azure or Google Cloud or wherever it is. You have to know about the cloud computing. The expectation is having the basic knowledge here before starting this course. But if you guys are not familiar, I suggested already a course. Basically, it's there in the recording. Go to your, I have provided the link as well, where to go for the course, basically. You can take a basic course. You get your AWS account created, take a basic course. It's 4 hours course, I guess. So has anyone started that? Has anyone gone through that, folks? Any of you? That gives you a good understanding and complete basic knowledge about cloud computing and the few services, whatever AWS is providing, right? So please take the cloud practitioner course provided by AWS. It is free basically, right? I'll share the link again if you guys need it.
Yeah, can you share that link? I don't see that in the group. It would be helpful.
No, you won't see that in the group. You will see that in the recording. That's why I told, all these informations are there in the recording.
Oh, okay. Can you paste it in, post it in the group so that I can go now?
Okay, I'll paste it in the Go to meeting now. Okay, so
Okay,
I
thank you. Yeah, that would be
shared it.
helpful.
Yeah. So here I'll take you the cloud skillbuilder.aws. Go here, pasting this link here. Here I suggested you to take any of this course. This is a game-based learning and this is a digital course. You can take any of this course. This will give you a complete understanding about your cloud concepts and what is AWS and all the concepts related to AWS. So whoever is completely new, please take this course in the weekend. It's just 6 hours course. You don't need to spend complete 6 hours, but at least first 3 hours for completing the basic essential things will be definitely helpful for you to proceed our course, right? Why? Because our focus is not cloud computing. Be clear, guys. Our focus is not learning the AWS. Our focus is automating the AWS services. So the expectation is already knowing the basic, but if you guys are not sure, don't worry, we will again see that the creation and things like that. Already I've told you how to create the users, how to set the credentials, manual things. We are going to automate it. Before doing automation, we will see how to create it manually, but at least a basic understanding of what is what, something that you will get to know from this particular course. All right, so you can enroll your course and you will be able to do this course, right? So once you created your AWS account and things like that, you are all set with the cloud part. Now we will come to our Terraform part. So what is Terraform? As I told you, we are going to automate the infrastructure provision. Why we need to automate? Because in the market, basically in companies and all, we are not interested to do the things manually. Why? Because let's say today I might need a bigger infrastructure. Tomorrow I need the same infrastructure in Europe region. Tomorrow, day after, I need it in the Asia Pacific region. So in that case, we cannot always do that manually. Also, when we are doing it manually, we get a human error. So we are going for the approach called as infrastructure as a code. We are going to write the code. We will see the plan. What is the infrastructure we are going to provision, and we will be able to execute it, and it will execute without any issue. So when the user is doing it manually, that will have the human errors. But when you're doing it with code, it will not have. It will be minimized. Also, it will help you to track the infrastructure. After 1 year, after 6 months, I want to upgrade the servers. I want to increase the RAM capacity. I want to increase the storage. You can easily do it when you codify it. If you are doing it manually, there are thousands of servers you need to do. You will be struggling to do it, right? So that's what the infrastructure as a code. We have many tools in the market. We are going to focus on Terraform, right? In Terraform, what is Terraform? Terraform is actually owned by HashiCorp. HashiCorp is a company. So we are going to write the script which will create all the low level and high level component, which means you can create a server, storage, network, anything at the low level or at the higher level of cloud, basically with the SaaS component. We call it as, right, software as a service component as well. We can manage. So in cloud, end to end, you can manage. That's what it means, right? So what is the advantage? As I told you, before you apply some kind of a execution plan, you can actually see the plan, what your code is going to perform, you can actually see. When you see the plan, you will be able to understand, okay, these many resources are going to get created. These are going to get modified. These are going to get deleted. So if you don't want it to delete, how can you make it modified? How can you make it not touched? So you can basically manage using Terraform. So also you have a resource graph which gives you a connectivity between the different resource what you're trying to do it. So basically, again, change automation, basically complex changes, right? The infrastructure. I have thousands of servers provisioned already. I need to upgrade all thousands. You cannot do it manually. You have to do with the automation. How can you do it? This is with Terraform. You can actually manage, right? This is not for the configuration management. Keep it in mind. You cannot do the configuration management. You can do the infrastructure provisioning with your Terraform, right? And we have seen about the setup. I have given all the commands and link instructions to you already. It's there in the video. You can actually get that to do the setup for Terraform, to do the setup for AWS, to do the setup for AWS configurations, credentials, everything we have already seen. Once you are done with the setup, we have started with our Terraform configuration syntax. We have seen what is the configuration syntax. So we are going to create some resources, not just resource. You can create any type of code, but the Terraform syntax is going to be like this. You have your block type, block label, and block label. What is a block type? It can be a resource block. It can be an output block. It can be a variable block. It can be, many block. We are going to see that in future, right? A lot of blocks we are going to see, but what is the use of it? We are going to create actual resource. In this resource, we can create a cloud resource or we can create a local resource as well. So for example, what we have started is we have started with this code as creating our basic file in our local machine. How can I create? So the resource, there are multiple providers for Terraform. We use a local provider. We have seen about the documentation and we try to create the file using the file name and content, right? I created multiple resource and I showed you today about how do we use the multiple providers as. So till here, please walk through completely, have this setup, complete this setup. Make sure you have the Terraform state. Till here, please make sure you have completed, right? And then in the next class, we are going to see about what is variable, how do we change the resource attributes, how to refer the resource, what is attributes? These are all called as attributes. This is resource attribute. This particular file resource has file name and content as an attribute. You have multiple resource for multiple attributes, right? So how the resource dependencies are working. Now we can create the dependency. Let's say I'm going to write the resource content. For this resource content, I want this pet name to be included in the content. How can I include the pet name in the content? We are going to see that, right? So we'll see that. How do we include the pet name in the content? So this, when you say this name should be included here, there is a dependency between the resource, this resource and this resource. How are we going to manage? We will see that. How do we print the output? We have seen that, right? How do we print the output? We just went to the output.tf. We can actually do it in the same file also. I told you, right? All the code can be put it in one file also. But in Terraform, we usually follow the naming convention with different files so that you will be able to understand how it's working, right? And after that, we will see multiple Terraform commands. We have Terraform state commands, we have Terraform provider commands, output commands, and things like that. We will see. And then we have lifecycle rules and some concepts inside Terraform. Once you guys are familiar with the local file and things like that, then we will move to AWS part. How are we going to create the AWS servers, storage, and things like that? That's the agenda, guys. The document, as in you mean the PPT? This PPT you mean? You mean the PPT or the documentation
Yes,
which
yes.
I've shown?
Yes.
PPT, yeah, sure. I will share it. I will share it. You will
Thank
get it. Yeah. All right. Any questions, folks, so far? I mean, I've just walked through what we have seen so far, but you have to complete all the hands-on. That's my expectation, folks. Why I did not go further for now, because I want you guys to get familiar initially, then I'll go further. If you feel that I'm going a little slower or faster, whatever the feedback, please feel free to talk to me or even ping me. If you are hesitant to talk in the audio, you can ping me, even private message, anything is fine. But give me the feedback that, what you really feel so that I can go accordingly if you feel that something needs to be changed. But yeah, before that, you also have to fulfill my expectation that you need to complete the hands-on. That's my expectation. I do not expect anything from you. Only thing is I want you to do the hands-on. If you just keep following the videos, I'm sure you will understand. You will definitely understand looking at the concept because these are pretty simple when you look at. But when you actually do it, you will face the heat of that scene, right? So you try to do that and come back and tell. Any questions? Say or discuss, guys. If not, I'll end the session today. What I want to do is I want to join back on Monday. Gonna continue with all these things. But before that, whoever wants to go through the cloud basics, whoever wants to complete this hands-on, please complete it.